again today with the Nintendo Switch 2, talking about some things that I think are important to think about when you are contemplating purchasing a Nintendo Switch 2. And I don't hear anybody else talking about this on the internet, so I figured I'd make a video about it and post it up and see what you guys think. Feel free to comment on anything I have to say in the video down below in the comments. I'd like to get other people's opinions on this and see where their minds are at. One of the things that I've heard is a complaint about the new Nintendo Switch 2 is specifically the price, and more specifically the price of the games, because Nintendo has chosen to increase the price of the most popular launch title, which is Mario Kart World, to $79.99. So obviously this is a break from the trend of prices for video games that Nintendo's been selling for the Nintendo Switch, and they've increased prices pretty considerably, I would say, from generation to generation. So it's important to know when you're thinking about purchasing the Switch 2 that new games are going to cost more. Now, you can buy the Switch 2 in a bundle, so that the Mario Kart World game really costs you only about $50. Of course, that is specifically a digital download, not a physical cartridge for Mario Kart World. So just be aware of that if you're a cartridge collector, like I am with my modest collection. You're not going to get a game card for Mario Kart World if you buy the bundle. You will have to pay the full $80 in order to get a physical card. But what's important to remember is that when we're talking about game prices like $79.99, $59.99, those game prices have been around for Nintendo for a long time. In fact, I saw on the internet something that jogged my memory, which was an old post in a Reddit subreddit somewhere about game system prices and game prices. Now, I saw an advertisement that was a real legit advertisement that was advertising Nintendo games that were first-party games for the Nintendo 64 at $59.99. Not only that, but third-party games like Doom 64 for the Nintendo 64 was $74.99. Now, those games were released and priced in 1997. So what's interesting to remember is that $59.99 in 1997 got you first-party Nintendo games. In today's money, that $59.99 would be $112.50. So if you think about where the prices of games have gone over the last 28 years, they really haven't increased that much. In fact, I feel like Nintendo's kept those prices pretty low. If the same $59.99 got you Mario Kart 64, and that same $59.99 got you Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, that's a pretty good deal. Because really, that $59.99 in 1997 was $112 today. And the same goes for higher prices. So Doom 64 in 1997 was priced at $74.99. That's $144.28 in 2025. So if we think about where the top end of game prices are as opposed to where they were a few generations ago for Nintendo, I feel like it's not out of the question to have a price increase from $59.99 to $79.99. Now, that being said, I would love to have these games be cheaper. I'd love for Nintendo to keep the price as low as possible. Simply for the fact that more people will play them, the cheaper they are. However, I don't think it's appropriate to be quite so up in arms about a price increase on some first-party games that Nintendo feels are worth more. Because in reality, if Nintendo was simply following the CPI adjustments from 1997, your Mario Kart World should cost $112.50. I know what you're going to say. There's a lot of things that go into calculating the worth and value of $59.99 in 1997, but I think if you do the math and you take a look at percentages of average American income, you're going to find that the story holds true. The games today are, in fact, pretty well priced compared to games that were priced in 1997. I'm not going to bore you with the details about average American income from 97 to now and compare the prices, but I can tell you I've done the math. And it definitely seems to me like an increase to $80 or $79.99 from $59.99, while jarring, because it's such an immediate uptick, is not actually that bad of a deal, especially if you go back into the history of game prices, specifically for Nintendo consoles. Tell me what you think, add some comments down below, and if you have any topics about the Switch 2 that you'd like us to cover, please feel free to comment. Like and subscribe and share with somebody who has a question about Nintendo Switch 2 or the games that are coming out. We're gonna have a bunch of videos on the channel, so stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified when the videos come out, and we're gonna be doing a little bit of some Switch 2 coverage. See you on the next one.